Hi everyone, this is Callie. I'm so glad you're here today to celebrate the Pretty Pink Posh March Spring Easter product release with me. I have 4 projects to share and I'm so excited about all of these new products. They are just adorable and I had so much fun creating with them. And before we begin, let's take a look at all of the products I'll be using today. First up is the Leafy Spring Wreath, and what I love about this wreath is that it's simple and you can adorn it with any decorations from other sets that you might have to change up the theme of that wreath. And here we have the adorable spring chicks, and I'm going to be using that with the scallop box card. I love the ability to make box cards and collapse them and put them in an envelope and send them off. So that's a super fun product to share. And here we have the spring jar. There are so many adorable images, but I'm going to pair them up with this Easter mug editions. Now the mug set has been so popular, and I just thought I wanted to create something a little bit different this time without using that winter mug from the original set. And as always, there are some adorable layered stencil sets. I have 2 to use today. That first one is a layered carrot set. And now we have some more spring products with the Happy Spring shadow die, as well as this umbrella shaker die and a layered umbrella stencil set. And there are also some new clay mixes to share with you. I have 3, but we are only going to be using 1 today. This is the Pastel Swirls mix. And then next up we have the Flower Garden mix. And last but not least, the Easter Garden mix. So lots of variety for you to use on all the different projects that you might have in mind, and it coordinates perfectly with all of the new products from this release. So now we're going to move on to coloring. There are 3 stamp sets, and I'm going to be coloring images from 2 of those stamp sets. The Leafy Spring Wreath is very simply colored, 3 Copic color combinations, and I'm changing it up a little bit, adding 2 different tones of greens just to give our wreath a bit more contrast and a bit more interest. So again, I'm blending with 3 colors, dark, medium, and light, adding the darkest color first, blending it out quickly with a medium shade and then a light shade. For the bow, I'm going to do a deep, rich pink color. So I'm using RV63, RV66, and RV69. When I move on to the Easter eggs and flowers, I'll use more lighter Eastery tones, more pastels. I just really wanted this bow to stand out. And I went ahead and colored everything else because it's super simple, not a lot to show. And I'm using the same colors on all of my cards today because I really want the colors to coordinate. And because we're making spring Eastery cards, it's going to be pastels and bright and happy colors. Moving on to the images from the Spring Chick set, I'm going to color the clouds with a little bit of blue. And I also use the same blues on the puddles and splashes of water. Now the chicks are super straightforward. I am just coloring with some yellows. So I'm using Y00, Y02, and Y15 on all of the chicks, adding some R30s for their little cheeks. And then again, I'm pulling in colors from the previous set to color my eggs and the rest of the chick images from this stamp set, including those umbrellas. I know I'm speeding this up a lot, but if you're interested in the color combinations that I use for each set or image, be sure to check out my coordinating blog post where I'll list all those combinations for you, and I'll also list a detailed list of products that I used for each card. So don't forget to check that out. Okay, so when I'm done Copic coloring, I will die cut with the coordinating dies off camera and set all of the images aside. Now I'm going to work on some backgrounds for our cards. I'm using the Stamp and Stencil mat. This is a craft tacky mat that will allow you to stencil because your paper will stick to it, your stencil will stick to it, and it does stick to your fingers too, but that's all right. My paper is going to stay put, my stencil is going to stay put. Usually I use the waffle flower stencil mat for this. It's just, there are so many options, guys, so you can use whatever you find most convenient for you. This is a new product to me, so I've been testing it out and really enjoying how easy it is to use. All I have to say is be careful when you're peeling the paper off this mat because it can be quite sticky and you don't want to tear your backgrounds that you worked so hard to create. So as you can see, I am working on the layered umbrella set. And what I love about this mat too is that there is that black outline on this mat so that you can place your stencil in the same area every time. And your paper is laid out on a grid as well. So everything is always in the same place and everything lines up well. I'm using the same colors as I did for my Copics. I am using teals, purples, and pinks. Again, keeping that same theme of Easter and spring colors moving along. And then for the umbrella handles, I'm going to go with a dark gray. I'm going to do a heavier hand at the top and just creating a little gradient for some interest, and then blending it out to a lighter hand towards the bottom of those umbrella handles. There are some raindrops as well, so I'm going to pull in some blue and stencil on some blue for the raindrops, and then that will finish our card background for the umbrella shaker that we're going to be creating later. Again, I'm going to be real careful in removing this from that stencil mat, and I'm just pulling it up very, very slow. And once I get to the corner or the edge, I kind of twist it off. That allows the paper to kind of remove itself a little bit easier, and you're not ripping any of your paper or causing any peeling that might come up. And while I have everything out, I'm going to go ahead and stencil my layered carrots background as well. So I'm going to have to say that this is my favorite stencil set from this release, just because it's so simple, and who doesn't love Easter carrots? I mean, it just creates such a fun background, and it's not too complicated, not too colorful, and we have just the right amount of details. There's a lighter carrot layer, and then there's this more detailed carrot layer that I'm blending with a darker orange, and then we have the foliage at the top of the carrots, which I'll ink blend in green. And again, if you're interested in any of the ink colors that I use, be sure to refer back to my blog post where I'll list those for you. You know what else I love? I love that carrots are straightforward. It's orange with a little bit of green, so I'm not having to mess with color choices, so that's really why I enjoyed this background a lot. So now that I am done with the background, I'm going to go ahead and use the spring jar set. And again, there are lots of beautiful images on this stamp set, but I'm just going to use the jar because it's going to replace my mug. And I was Googling some inspiration and saw such adorable Easter projects using mason jars. So I decided that I would make a bunny jar using the die as well as the spring jar set. So I have my images die cut in white. I didn't want to fuss with a bunch of different colored cardstock. And since I had the inks out anyway, I could go ahead and just use them to ink blend the different images that are being die cut. So I'm creating my carrot first. I've ink blended it with orange and added some greens to the greenery. And now I'm adding some gray to the bunny ears just for a bit of color and interest. And then I'm adding some pink to the center of the earpieces. And I also have my Copic markers already out from coloring my images that I'm going to use them to color these die cuts as well. I'm going to color the flower in a soft pink, add a bit of yellow for the flower center. And at this point, I was starting to color the eyes black. And then I decided how fun would it be to use some googly eyes. So I pulled some of those out. And then I'm coloring the nostril or the nose and his little mouth in black. And then using the same bow colors as I used on my wreath to color this bow for the jar. And then I'll use the same Copic markers as well to Copic color those eggs that I have left to color. And here you can see where I'm using two markers to help me blend better. Sometimes the colors don't blend very well, and what I do is I use the lighter marker to pick up some darker pigment and then blend, and that blends out and you don't get any contamination on your lighter marker, so there's nothing to worry about there. It just helps me blend a little bit quicker. And there are egg images on the spring jar set that I could have used. I just didn't think about it. And since I'd already die cut all these pieces from the Easter mug edition set, I went ahead and colored them as well. They're not as easy to color as a stamped image, but it has this no line look to it as well. So it just depends on what you're going for. Then after Copic coloring all of the images, I'm just going to piece everything together with some liquid glue. And when I'm done doing all of that, I can go ahead and create my card or my little scene on that background that I created with the carrots. So I have this big carrot here, and I just absolutely love that carrot. I don't know, it's just so adorable. And now I'm going to go ahead and attach the ears to the jar. I'm using as little as I can of the ear because I want my ears to be as long as possible for this jar, which is absolutely adorable on the mug, by the way. I saw this mock-up of all the different images and characters that you can create on those mugs using the mug editions, and it's so cute. And I saw it after I made this card and I was like, oh, I wish I had done that. But this was my idea and I feel a little bit out of the box with it, so I hope you like it. So I've put together my bunny jar with the googly eyes, and I went ahead and attached that to my background, and then I attached the other images as well, and that I'm going to set aside, and we'll work on the sentiments at the very end. But next we're going to work on this umbrella shaker. Again, I've die cut it in white, and I'm just going to use the colors that I have out to ink blend everything. I'm going to use the teal color for my umbrella, and that coordinates with the teal umbrellas on the background. And I've die cut this umbrella twice. There is also another die that will die cut the little windows for our shaker. So I went ahead and ink blended both with the teal, and I've also die cut another umbrella with acetate to turn this into a shaker. Now, to adhere acetate to anything, I like to use dry adhesive, so I'm using an 1/8 inch double-sided adhesive here, and you can use liquid glue. I don't trust it as much with acetate because it's non-porous, so I hope that makes sense, but that's just my preference. You use whatever works for you. And I'm going to use some strips of foam adhesive here as well, and you can die cut paper to stack, but because that window is a second piece, I wasn't sure if I could perfectly die cut these windows in the exact same areas for each layer, so I thought foam tape would be easier. Now I filled it with some of those pastel swirls from the clay mix that I showed you earlier, and that will finish my umbrella shaker for this card. I thought this mix was the perfect mix between the three that I had for an umbrella shaker. So all I have left to do is piece together my umbrella handle and then adhere these to that umbrella layered background that we created, and that will finish my card. And again, we'll work on the sentiment towards the end. I wanted to move on to the next card, so we'll set this aside after everything is adhered. Okay, so now we're going to work on our little box card here with the scallop box die, and I've die cut the base in white, and I'm using some patterned paper for the background as well as some green for a grassy feel, and I'm using the Lawn Fawn Watercolor Wishes patterned paper pack. So I went ahead and stamped the sentiment off camera to save some time on this green panel for the front of my box, and then I'll fold back all of those little folds that were die cut into the panels, and I'll attach my background as well onto that scalloped background. And then we can go ahead and assemble our little scalloped box card. I'm adding some 1/4 inch double-sided adhesive on all of those little tabs. I have one extra insert for my box. You can create 2 or 3, as many as you want. I just thought one would be great for the images that I have. To line up this middle insert, I'm using that diagonal slant on the sides of the box as a guide. It should go all the way from one side to the other without peeking up. And so I'll press it down when it's positioned in place, and then I'll do that with the other panel that I have for the front. Then I'll flip that to the other side and remove my adhesive, and then fold the other side of the box over. This is going to make sure that your box will collapse perfectly on either side. And then your box is constructed, and all that's left to do is to decorate it with the images that you've colored. So now I have all of my spring chick images out, and I'm just adding some liquid adhesive here and there and attaching the images in all the different areas to create this full scene. And I've added clouds, and now I'm adding the umbrellas to my chicks, and that finishes my box card. I hope you like it. As you can see, you can collapse it and put it into an A2 sized envelope, even with a bit of overhang of the images. So it's perfect for a scene full of dimension, and you can also send it to a recipient easily. Okay, so now for my 4th card, we can bring back our images from the Leafy Spring set. I'm going to decorate my spring wreath with all the different images of the Easter eggs and flowers, and then I'm going to simply attach that to a white panel and then stamp my center from that same stamp set at the center of my card. Now, to finish the other two cards, I need to work on a sentiment for them both. So I've stamped a sentiment here for this carrot or jar card. And then for the umbrella card, I'm going to use that Happy Spring Shadow die. I've die cut it with a matte gold cardstock, and then I've also stamped the word happy from one of the stamp sets. And I just cut that down into a strip and then adhered it to my card. Now I'm finishing up by attaching all of it to card bases. I did, for the wreath, attach it to a cream card base first so that we have a bit of color around our wreath. And that finishes my 4 cards for this awesome spring and Easter release. I hope you enjoyed it all. If you've watched it to the end up to this point, I hope you'll consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. I appreciate you joining me today for this exciting release. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be linking 2 more videos in case you're interested in seeing more. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Bye, everyone.